I was an eighth grader when my grandparents passed away 2 months apart from each other. And we lived a half a mile down the road from them. They lived on the farm that I went to every single day with my dad.
Yep.
And best friends. Like you at the time, if you would have asked, like, who are your best friends? Like probably, no offense, mom and dad, but like I would thought mom and dad are my mom and dad.
Yes.
And you say, well, who are my best friends? Grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
Like they were.
I don't think they'd be mad at that. I think they'd
be.
That's part of the deal.
You know, I spent so much time with them, and like my brother was older than me, so they'd all be, working, and I was a little bit younger. I was working, but then like when I would get tired of it, instead of like being a pest, I'd just go sit inside with grandma. Well, she had cancer for 7 years, so she was kind of sitting in her chair most of the day at that point, and she's just praying all the time, and she was a wonderful woman. For a really active woman, I think that was her purgatory. Like that's her living hell, is to be able to have to just sit in a chair all day.
Yeah.
And not be able to go out and do the garden and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'd sit there and we'd just talk and talk, and I'd eat candy, and that was my version of like being on the farm, right?
Yep.
So I remember when they passed away, within 2 months of each other, kind of freakishly, it was a very traumatic thing. I was an eighth grader, and I remember thinking, nothing else at that point matters more than where you go next.
Yeah.
The next thing that matters is like,
wait, hold on. Unpack that. Where you go next with what?
Like when you die, where do you go after that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Fast forward like another 10 or 15 years from that moment, and my father-in-law was passing away of cancer, and this was only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And we were there for 6 months taking care of him, and I remember he's laying on a bed at his house. He's at the very end.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's going to be an hour or a day or 2 days, but he can't communicate, and he's just staring at the ceiling with his mouth open, just breathing very uncomfortably.
Yeah.
It's not a very pleasant sight. Actually, the first time I've ever seen that. I've just not been around death a lot.
Yeah.
I remember just sitting there for like an hour, watching this dude that I know, staring at the ceiling with his mouth open, can't communicate. I'm just like, what the hell is this guy thinking about?
Yeah.
At that moment, what matters to you? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking back on your life? Or are you just like, my...
Did you ask him?
Yeah, but he couldn't communicate.
I got to talk to my grandpa about it. I want you to finish that story, though.
I'm curious on this. My theory, if I were in those shoes, if I was laying on that bed, wouldn't you be either scared of what's next because you don't know or don't believe and don't have any sense of what it's going to be like?
Yeah.
I'd be pretty freaking scared. It's either am I just going to die and go in the dirt and that's it? What is that even like? Like, if you really think about that.
Yes.
Then this is it.
Yeah.
I got nothing left. Are you thinking, if you are a believer and you do have faith, I'm scared, but Lord, take me? I got to have a little bit of an inkling of like, oh man, like I know this roller coaster. Like I know this roller coaster. I was literally at Disney World and I saw the roller coaster 100 times before I got on it.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to crash. I know it's not going to go off the rails. But then when you're at the top of the roller coaster and you're about to go down and it clicks, do you have just a little bit of a like, oh shit, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
I've always wondered that for people that are super faithful.
Yes.
Do you still have that like, or does God like just overwhelm you with his presence at that moment? I don't know all the answers. Those are my theories. Is nothing else matters more to you in that moment than what's about to happen to me next? And did I live a life that I'm proud of? I don't think you're thinking about your bank account balances. I don't think you're thinking about how much money you're leaving to your kids. I think you're thinking about, oh man, I hope I'm going to a better place, not a worse place.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to talk to multiple men on their way out. They knew it was coming. They were on their way. And there was fear that like, did I actually thread the needle? Did I, live a life that I'm going to heaven? Both were Catholic. And, the next place was on their mind.
Yeah.
Being like, did I do it? One was my grandpa who was an ordained deacon in Catholic Church.
I didn't know that.
Spent his life serving, others. And even he I asked him if he was afraid a little bit, and he said, yeah, I'm afraid. You don't really know, and same thing with a mentor of mine, Jack. He knew it was coming too. He was in the hospital with COVID, and he had called me to say like goodbye. He said, it's not looking good. But I want you to know I love you, and that, I'm a little bit scared, but it's going to be okay, I think. But when I asked my grandpa, I had like a whole day with him. Actually a couple days, but I got to pull him aside with nobody else around, and he was on a breathing machine. So it was kind of labored talking, but he was able to sit up and talk with me. And he said, I asked him, I said, first thing I asked is, do you have any regrets in life? And one of his answers to me was, yes, I regretted not taking an opportunity, and I regretted not taking a risk. And it was around a job, which you would think like doesn't mean that all that much. Like at the end of your life, you're like, why are you worried? Why were you even thinking about this job? But when you're thinking over your lifetime, the way I processed it was taking risk in life and just going for it every once in a while. At the end, you will be thinking about the things you didn't risk, the things you didn't jump for, the things that you were just like, no, I'm just not going to do it. That's one of the messages I got from my grandpa around that was like, if those opportunities come up, don't just shrug it off like that's a big risk. It doesn't make sense or whatever. You should really consider taking some of those risks. I've been pretty good about that throughout my life in certain aspects, and I've fallen short in others. But I think on the big risks, and I got to credit my wife with this too, because she really supports me whenever these big risks come up, that we really sit and process it and look at it and go, in the long run, will we regret not making this decision in the affirmative? And generally speaking, if we can answer that yes, and we're going to look back on it and regret it, we do it.
That's a good. Yeah, I can second the motion. My wife, actually, she should probably say no to more.
Yeah,
we probably
both of us. Yeah,
we could probably take a little less risk, to be honest. But no, I love that perspective, because it just puts the rest of it in perspective. Like, you're probably going to be okay. Like, if somebody's listening to this and they are trying to go start a new business or whatever, let's just say you do fail.
Yeah.
I failed at, I can officially say that I believe that I failed at more projects than I've won at. And unfortunately,
legit.
Unfortunately for me, probably 2 years ago, I couldn't say the same.
Right.
I was like, I kind of had the Wonder Kid effect for a minute there.
Yep.
Where it's like, everything you touch turns to gold. I have now tried enough things that I think that I understand what it feels like to fail at a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
And to know what that really feels like. And that doesn't go away no matter how successful you, it doesn't matter. But I think it just means like, it's worth doing, because otherwise you'd always question, what could have I done if I would have tried?